digitized live in our smallish studio, 1B in Cape Coral, Florida. It is the all-new, the all-live Waterman and D-Train show. That's right. I'm D-Train. Waterman gets top billing, so here he is, Dave the Waterman.
What's up, everybody?
Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of the What's in Your Head. You know, I just realized I got 3 podcasts that have the start with the letter W. This episode of the Sesame Street brought to you by the letter W. This is the What's in Your Head podcast. We have the What's the Scuttlebutt podcast and the Waterman and D-Train Show podcast. But this podcast is a treat for you, the patrons, those of you who support the show. This is behind the paywall, as they say. And joining us is Gordon, and we just did some finagling on his microphone. And now, 5 years, 6 months into it, we are changing things up again. It's so new, so fresh that we don't even have a theme song yet. The What's in Your Head podcast will remain the title of the show. Gordon reached out to me last week, the week before, and said, hey, I got a lot of things going on at work and a lot of things going on in life, and I need to step away from the show for a while, probably good 2 or 3 months, maybe a little longer. I'm not sure. When I'm ready to come back, I'll come back. And at this point, we've been doing this show for 5 years and 6 months. This show has to be a passion project and something that you have the availability to do. And when someone has life coming along and other issues they got to take care of and they have to step away, I can't blame them. You know, it's just, this is a hobby. This is a passion thing. And, you know, if life gets in the way, or more importantly, a busy work schedule. And to be fair to him, it's 9:30 Eastern time, but for Gordon, he records this, he's 3 hours behind. So it's like 5:45, 6 o'clock. So he basically has to rush home and hop on the show. And so now that his work's busy, he's like at work right now. And so Gordon will be back in a couple months. Mike is still with us. We're going to change up the format of the show a little bit. But I just wanted to kind of share the progress of how this show has come to be and gone over in years. And if I was a better producer and a better show host, I would have all kind of nice clips from the last 5.5 years. But to be honest with you, I'm just too goddamn busy. Anyhow, Mike, how are you doing, fella?
Oh, you know, it's a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday night. How are you doing tonight?
Good. You know, I was thinking I'm going to cut an intro this weekend, and I think I'm just going to make the What's in Your Head podcast with your hosts, Don and Mike. We'll just drop the last names, shorten it, sweeten it, and just streamline. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to streamline.
Easy peasy.
Yeah. Everything all the way around. We're going to open up the show, kind of bitch, and then we're going to try to stick to one topic for that episode and see how it plays out.
Yeah. Sounds like a good plan. Something that might pique the interest if maybe a listener doesn't particularly care about this topic that we talk about on this show. Maybe they will on the next show, or vice versa, and so on and so forth.
Versa versa.
That's right.
Tomato, tomato. Fuck it. Let's just call the whole thing off.
Potato, potato.
So tonight we're going to get into the idealism behind me. Actually, no. It's actually interesting. There's 2 different versions. There's me against the world. But no, we're going to talk about the universe is out to get me.
That damn universe.
And if we delve deep into this, I was kind of thinking there's 2 schools into the thought of the universe is out to get me. But I figure we will kind of give 2 examples of how the universe is out to get to us. And then maybe, because I don't know your story, you don't know mine, perhaps my story will fall in line with one example, and perhaps your story will align with my other idea for another version of this, and we'll see if we can kind of figure this whole thing out. And I got a fresh plate of pizza, but you can't eat while we're doing audio, so it's just going to settle right here. Maybe as you're talking, I'll mute my mic and shove pizza down my fat gullet.
Outstanding.
So the reason I got this idea for this week is I've had one of those weeks. You guys know we had a hurricane back in September, damn near a year ago.
We did?
Yep, got my roof fixed finally. Back in April, we dropped the Volkswagen off at the repair shop. I talked about that at length last week. And then the truck went in. They had the Volkswagen for 56 days, and then the truck for like 38. So there was some overlap there with our 30-day car rentals. And so there was a period of about 10 days where we only had one car. we had to carpool. The one car was not a truck, so that meant no kayak fishing, and it really kind of put a hinder on how everything works. So we were excited, nay, ecstatic, when the repair shop, and I'm not going to say the name of the repair shop, and you'll find out why here soon. The repair shop called me and said, hey, the truck is done. It's been done since Tuesday. The insurance company finally authorized payment on the additional work. Come get the bad boy. And now it's Friday. I'm at work, but I actually was scheduled to do a job in Naples where I had to install some new network equipment. And the car repair shop was in a location in between Cape Coral and Naples. We'll just leave it at that. And it was on the way, and so I thought, okay, I got to get the key for the truck because they close at 5. There's no way I'm going to be here at 5. So I'm going to go pay for my truck, get the key to the truck, leave the Volkswagen there, take the truck down to the Naples gig because now I have access to my toolbox, and there's tools in there that I could use for this job. Now, prior to this, I had noticed on the Volkswagen after we got it back that there was a spot of oxidation on the hood where they missed it with the blending, because when you get a car repaired, they don't paint the entire car. They paint the damaged spots that the insurance is going to cover, but then they blend in the paint so there's not a line of demarcation from the old paint to the new paint. They try to make it blend as best as they could. And so I asked them, I said, hey, I think you guys missed a spot when you blended this. And they came and looked at it. He saw it, yeah. Oh, yeah. I said, well, I'm going to take my truck and go do this job, and I'll come back and pick my car up later tonight. He's like, well, you're leaving your car here? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, give me the keys, and we'll just buff it out, and then you can come get it later. Okay, perfect. So I left him the key. Get in my truck. Actually, I looked at the outside of the truck, make sure I don't have any unblended spots. The outside of the truck was immaculate.
Sweet. Perfect.
Got my truck back. It looks better than when I actually bought it, because when I bought it, actually had a dent or two in it because I bought it used. Trucks never looked better. Climb in, fired up, gas is on empty. Okay, well, good thing I can pull out the Google phone. There's a gas mile 0.3. Okay, it's around the block. And I drive to the gas station, and I cast my eyes over to the driver's side, and on the A-pillar cover, that's the bar that goes horizontally from your roof, or kind of diagonally down to your dashboard that your windshield connects to.
Yep.
And there's a big black blob. A big black blob that bleeds blood. No, what's that? The big black bug that eats blood? Anyhow. There's a big black blob on my A-pillar cover, and I'm like, what's that? I do the old grandma. Remember how your grandma used to clean your face? You lick her thumb and then come back for a second. Come back for the second dip.
The old schmear.
That kind of shows you the difference between our grandparents' generation and Seinfeld's generation when they did an entire episode on double dipping. Your grandma would lick her finger, wipe the shit off your face, and then go back for a second lick. Because they had what doctors called an immune system. So anyhow, I rub it and I smell it. I'm like, that smells like grease. Like wheel bearing grease or lube gun grease. It wasn't red, it was black. Or like, kind of like the smell, like if you ever had to fix your kid's bike chain, or more importantly, when your chain popped off as a kid, we all had to learn. I don't know if young kids know this, but like Gen X, early millennials, we had to learn the whole thing of you pick your back tire up, you put the chain halfway in the sprocket, you rotate it, and it puts back on. But you'd always get the black shit on your hands, and it was grease.
Sure.
I'm like, well, what the hell is that? And as I look, the sunlight's hitting the A-pillar cover just right. And you can see the tips of 3 fingers, grease, fingerprints, but it was in a way that the person had to have grabbed the A-pillar cover from behind. The fingers were wrapping around from behind, as if a monster's coming out of my A-pillar cover. I was like, okay, well, clearly when they replaced my windshield, because that was one of the things that had to be replaced, on the Toyota, I have the automatic distance detection for the cruise control, so the truck automatically slows down when the asshole in front of you slows down and then speeds back up. So there's an entire instrument cluster attached to my windshield behind the rearview mirror, so I guess they had to take the headliner down to disconnect all that crap before popping the windshield out.
Sure.
And so I'm like, well, whoever put the A-pillar cover on just clearly did not. I don't even know. Just greasy ass hands. Not sure why that guy would be working in the interior department, but whatever. So I do what everybody does. I called my brother to complain. And he said, man, just wipe it off. It ain't worth the hassle. It's not worth to drive it back up there when they're open because they're closed at this point. Well, actually, you're on your way to work. By the time you get back, they'll be closed. Sure. I said, yeah, you're probably right. It's not worth the hassle. I'll just get some Windex and suck it up. And so I get some gas. Now, for some reason, the passenger seat belt was fastened.
Okay.
As if for some reason there was something heavy in there and it was setting off the seatbelt alarm and they got annoyed. Don't know. But since the seatbelt was fastened, that meant the seatbelt wasn't vertical and I could see the seatbelt cover. Big old black grease scub on there. I'm like, what the fuck? So I get to looking around and the dome light's on the passenger side. Keep in mind, my car has been done since Tuesday. It is now Friday. So my dome light has been on for 3 days. I don't know how. Maybe they had to jump my battery. I don't know. Don't know how my car even started, but it did. And I noticed around the dome light there's more grease. And I get to looking around and I see little grease spots all on my headliner. And on the top of the passenger sun visor. And so I flip it down, and much like Freddy Krueger had did the interior, there's 4 big, greasy, long finger stripes down the material that makes up my sun visor.
Outstanding.
I'm like, what kind of hack job is this? This isn't some mom and pop. This is a national chain repair shop. Mm-hmm. So I get my gas, and I got to be on my way. So I'm on the interstate, and I got my phone hooked up to the radio, and I call the place up, and I talk to the guy. I'm like, dude, I don't know what the hell is going on, but your interior guy looked like he just got done changing someone's oil and then decided to work on my car. It's a goddamn shit show. Okay, we'll fix it. Our bad. Yeah, you'll fix it. Hang up the phone. I'm on the interstate. I'm heading down Naples. I'm in the fast lane. There's a semi in the middle lane. Kicks up a rock, hits my brand new windshield, and breaks it.
Oh.
The brand new windshield that was replaced, which was the result of the grease fingering in my car. I've been in possession of my car for 15 and a half minutes at this point, and my brand new windshield's. It hit it right next to the passenger side pillar, and it started to crack. Since then, it's already grown like 7 inches.
Damn.
I can't do this. And through this whole process, when we first dropped off the Volkswagen, the rental car place gave us a car that was a smoking car, and the chemicals, it gave us headaches, so we had to arrange getting another car, and we had that car for 30 days, and then the hassle of getting a truck for my rental car, turning the other rental car back, and then not having a car for 10 days, me and Carrie carpooling, all the trips and forth back to the location, which is 33 miles away, from dropping off cars, picking up cars. I'm just like, and all the other crap I have going on in my life. I'm like, you got to be effing kidding me. Mm-hmm. Why me? And so this is Friday. I go home and I film a very tired, very exhausted, at my wit's end video about the hackery that this mechanic pulled. And then I go inside. I throw my hands in the air and I said, fuck it. Nothing I can do about it now. They're closed. So Monday rolls around. I go to work. I call this place. I said, hey, can I get the email address of your shop's manager? First I asked, I said, are you guys corporate or franchise? Well, it's locally owned, but okay, so you're a franchise. I said, can I get whoever's in charge over there its email? Sure, what's going on? Oh, nothing. I just got my car back on Friday. I just shot this video. You guys are going to want to see it. I said, the paint job was immaculate. The dent repair. I said, but it was the interior. The interior, it was chef's kiss. I said, trust me, your boss is going to want to see this. There's going to be attaboys for everybody, pizza party, raises all around. You guys are going to be blown away by how happy I am. Oh, sure. Here's her email. Here's his email. Shoot the video off to him. It's on YouTube. It's private because I'm not trying to blow these people up yet. I just want my car fixed. So that was like at 8 a.m. 10 a.m. They roll around. Oh, this is not the kind of work we blah, 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 blah. I noticed in the video you said you don't want anybody at our shop to touch your car. Absolutely. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to call the Cape Coral location. Now, for those of you playing home, I took this to the far away location because they have better reviews on the internet. That'll learn me. Mm-hmm. So they paid and sent a tow truck to come get my truck, take it over to the Cape Coral location. Then I had to catch an Uber at lunch, go back to the local car place to get a rental car that they're paying for. Now I'm on my fucking 4th rental car in 60 days. That's fine. I'm pissed off, but I'm like, there's nothing I can do about it. Carrie calls me. Yep. So I was going to leave the house to go take Sariana to the dentist appointment, and the Volkswagen has a flat tire. And at this point, I'm like, why is the universe, why are the automotive gods dumping their tool bag upon me? What have I done? I've done nothing wrong. I researched the place. I did all the insurance. The insurance people paid. I've gone through this whole harassment. I get my car. My windshield's broken by no actions of my own, just a happenstance of a pebble being stuck in a semi-truck tire and throwing it hit my windshield. And then the Volkswagen gets a flat tire. And I'm just like,
you can't win.
But why? What is that? What is it that makes all that crap compile? And you're just like, if it wasn't for luck, bad luck, I'd have no luck at all.
I think a lot of people believe it's karma.
What did I do?
I'm not saying that it's me. I'm just saying a lot of people would probably comment on that and say, oh, that's your karma coming around to bite you in the ass or something like that. Me, I've always believed that bad things happen in threes, man.
Well, tell your story, and we'll see whose story lines up with my two versions of the universe is out to get me.
My story has to do with work. Now, I'm not going to name names or mention where I work or anything like that for obvious reasons.
Or for all people know, this could be in a job you worked 10 years ago.
Right. I am a plumbing manager at a local service company. And I just started in the office about 3 weeks ago. And things around there tend to run, I don't want to say anything negative, to jeopardize my situation or anything like that, but a lot of the other people that work there don't have the plumbing knowledge that I do. Hence why they hired me to be what I am. So a lot of things get missed when parts get ordered or things like that, and they end up out at the customer's house. They get installed, they're wrong, whatever. So, like I said, I just started in this position. Well, I just started in the office 3 weeks ago. About a month ago, we had a customer up in Charlotte County that had a water heater go bad. So, we went out, we diagnosed it.
Simple water heater goes bad, a coil goes bad, or is this the worst case scenario where the damn thing launches through the roof of their house?
This is a gas water heater. And there's two different kinds of gases that you can use to heat a water tank.
Propane and methane.
Natural gas and LP. So we ordered up the heater. The tech went out, ordered up the heater. We get the heater in, we install it. About 3 weeks later, the customer calls us. Hey, my heater stopped working. Okay. So we went out, we checked it out, and we figured out that we ordered a natural gas water heater to be installed on a propane system. Now,
Now, I don't know the first thing about these two systems, but I'm guessing they have two different burning temperatures.
Essentially, the orifices between
Giggity.
Between natural gas and propane are different sizes. So the gas that's being pushed through it, propane, I believe, has to have a smaller diameter opening to force it through a lot better. I can't think of all the logistics of it right now, but so anyway, so we installed this heater. Customer called, said, hey, it went out. I don't know what's going on. We went out to take a look at it, and we realized, okay, well, it's not it's the incorrect gas type. All right, what are we going to do? Well, let's order up a new heater. Okay. So we order up a heater. And we decided, let's hang on to the one that we installed, because it is brand new.
Good call.
So they pulled it out. I told them, carefully pull the heater, bring it to the shop, let it sit.
Drain it out.
I'll go over it, and we'll see what we can do with it. So we get customer A up and running, up in Charlotte County. Hunky-dory. No big deal. Originally, we were going to go with a natural gas to propane conversion kit, because those do exist. And unfortunately, for this particular water heater, it was not available. Surprise, surprise. So, we didn't order that. We got them the correct heater. They brought the old heater back, and they said, hey, Mike, why don't you take a look at this? Maybe we can resell it as a scratch and dent or something like that. Sure. So I go and take a look at it. Some minor sooting in and around the vent area. So I'm looking at it, and it's got a
How
scratch
would it have
on
so
it.
much soot if it was only in the field for 2 hours when you realized you couldn't use it?
It was in the field for 3 weeks. It was
Took 'em
installed for
3
3
weeks
weeks.
to realize it didn't have hot water? Or was it
No.
inconsistent hot water?
It was functioning normally. That's the thing, with different gas types, it'll work until eventually it just stops because of buildup or
Because it's not burning the propane
not-
or
it's
whatever,
not
the fluid at the right temperature.
Exactly. So it had been installed for 3 weeks. We brought it back to the shop. It sat for a week because I wasn't able to get around to looking at it right away. So I looked at it. Everything was fine. I checked, just to make sure, just kind of gave it a visual inspection and looked everything over. And it, aside from one scratch on it, which was about an inch tall, half-inch wide, and it was dented in a little bit from where they had removed the original piping, it was fine. It was clean. I wiped it down from all the sweat bead marks and everything from...
Kind of like the inside of my truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. I know.
So
I can picture it.
Yeah. So I wiped it down, and my boss comes to me, and he's like, hey, he knew that we had this heater, and he knew that it came back, and he was like, well, I have a customer here that actually wants a new heater, and is this gonna match up, all that stuff? And I was like, yeah, this will work perfectly.
Oh boy.
Okay. So I get on the phone with the customer. Mind you, she's not happy about the price to begin with. I'm not going to say what the price is or what, we gave the scratch and dent to her for, but it was a significant discount between brand new and the scratch and dent.
But she still wasn't happy with the new lower price.
Right.
Because inflation.
Right. So, and her, I guess her biggest bitch was that it was like, and she was going over the numbers with me, and she was like, well, it just doesn't make any sense. I can have somebody do this for, just throwing a number out there, like $1,000 or something like that. I'm like, no, you can't. There's no way.
Yeah, the unit itself's not that low.
Okay, so you're going to buy the heater, and then you're going to pay Jimbo from down the street, a couple $100 or something like that in time and labor to install it.
But once again, this isn't just a normal off-the-shelf plug into water valves and plug it in the wall. This is a propane and or natural gas heater that requires some plumbing to be done.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Right. So, she was going back and forth about the price with me, and I finally told her, it was like, this is the price. This is what I can do this for. And she was like, well, this price doesn't seem, this is closer to what I would think it would be, but it's not a brand new heater, so I still think it's too high. I was like, well, you can either pay this or you can pay this for a brand new.
You can get with this or you can get with that.
That's right. So we agreed. We set up the call. We gathered all the parts together. We sent out one of the technicians.
Wrapped it up in bubble wrap.
That's right. Got it out there. He was out there for, I think, 2.5 hours installing it because I believe this is correct. By code, those heaters have to be up on a pad.
Okay.
At so many feet off the ground.
Feet?
Hmm?
Feet?
Feet.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, like 2.5 feet.
How tall are these units? Because if it's a normal size water heater, that thing, there's only so much room between your floor and your ceiling.
So to put it into perspective, your water heater is a 50-gallon medium, which means
Which is about 4.5 feet tall, maybe
right,
5.
So it's a little shorter, but it's a little fatter.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 50. I guess you call it a 50 tall or a 50 regular, which is, about another 8 to 12 inches taller, and it's a lot skinnier. So just your run-of-the-mill, typical normal water heater size. So he gets it up there, gets everything installed, gets everything ready to go, and I don't know anything that's going on at this point. All I know is that I got a phone call, like 2 or 3 hours later about the problem.
Mm-hmm. There's always a problem.
Tech fills it up, gets everything going, goes to light up the gas, got the pilot lit, turned the burner on, and as soon as the burner plate ignited, black soot just blew out of the inside.
It's like Uncle Buck's Buick.
Yeah, out of the inside of the vent.
And now, is this unit in her garage or her utility room?
In her garage. Luckily, in
could
her
be
garage.
worse.
But
next to the AC handler, which is now sucking that shit blown in her house.
She has a Mercedes in the garage.
White?
No, it was black.
No, well, that's good.
That was the lucky part. Had a Mercedes in the garage. She has all kinds of expensive shelving.
Oh, good.
For extra storage in the garage. She's got
her mink collection.
She probably got about 50 different bins with white lids.
Yeah, that's good.
In the garage.
Oh yeah.
All of her workout equipment is out there.
The Peloton.
Her TV, her extra refrigerator, all this stuff. So it blows soot all over the inside of her garage, and not like chunks. Microscopic,
like the overspray from the neighboring paint shop that gets that shit all over your car because they decided to rush a car and paint it in the parking lot.
Correct. So, for those of you who don't know about sooting or fireplaces or gas fixtures or anything of that type, soot is a byproduct of gas expulsion or burned fuel.
Mm-hmm.
It happens. It's a common occurrence. However,
there's usually scrubbers in place.
Right. Because that particular heater was installed with the incorrect gas type, it sooted excessively inside the burner casing and inside of the vent.
So what you're saying is this just got very expensive.
Yeah. So I get the phone call. She's not happy, obviously.
I can imagine that.
My technician is covered from head to toe in streaks. Yeah, exactly like that. Because I saw him afterwards, and I mean, he was covered. And so we're going back and forth about this. So then I go into.
So is this step number 2? Because you said you believe things happen in 3. What step are we on now? So the first one is the first customer. So you're stuck with this device.
Yep.
Now you sell it to a customer and it blows up. Is that step 2 or is that step 3?
That would be step 2. Yeah.
Okay. So what's the third? What's the third shoelace that fell out of this shoe?
The third shoelace would be the fact that I had to go out there personally, deal with the customer face to face. I got thrown under the bus about a situation that I won't mention.
Did you ever see The Lion King?
Of course.
There's a very, very important lesson to be learned in Lion King that most people overlook. And I think Scar says it to one of the hyenas or to the lion, the little lion. He said, the first rule of management, everything is your fault. And that rule smacked you in the face today.
Yep. So while I was out there, she was very nice and wasn't like, initially she was pissed. But then once I got out there and was trying to assess the situation and all that stuff, she was kind of, still upset, but not
wasn't in full-blown Karen mode.
Yeah. So, but now, we were able to calm her down about the heater situation. Yeah.
Settle down, woman.
Right. We were able to calm her down about the heater situation. So now she's concerned about her safety.
Oh.
Understandably so. Never dealing with this situation before. You don't know what to expect, things like that. So we put a carbon monoxide detector in her garage. I went out, assessed the situation, pulled the water heater apart, and found out it's toast. There's no way. So part of my third shoelace would be having to report back to the office and say,
we got to source another.
This heater's shot. We're 3 heaters in, and
what's
one and a half have only been paid for.
And you can't even try to get a warranty claim on that.
Nope. I actually, I didn't try, but I was just curious as to what they would say.
Mm-hmm.
So I called the manufacturer on it, and I was like, hey, hypothetically, if my buddy bought a water heater and then a month later he wanted to upgrade, and he sold me his water heater, is it still under warranty? Nope, absolutely not. As soon as it leaves that address, which I kind of figured that, but I just wanted to make sure. But, yeah, so...
So, the 2 versions of the universe is out to get me.
Yep.
Is one, kind of what you and I experienced. I guess one could go through at the time, fine-tooth comb and suggest that, some oversight here and there about checking the version of the first one that you're replacing to make sure that, whatever the gas hookup is, what exact type.
Yeah.
And then you have my situation where it was completely nothing I did. It was just somebody fucked your truck, somebody broke your window. Oh, and by the way, to follow your suit, step 2 and 3 in my adventure, got home, the window trim on the outside of my door below my window, the clip was broken. It looked like somebody took a lighter and squeezed it back in the hole and put a little super glue on it. And it popped out. That's how I discovered it. And step number 3, my insurance does not do free, non-deductible window repairs. So that means I just paid my deductible to have my car painted and windshield replaced. 2 weeks before that, I just paid the same amount deductible to have the Volkswagen. And now the new windshield is $5 less than my deductible. So I'm going to be out another of the exact same amount. And I'll just like... And the cracks already spread. But there's 2 types of the universe is out to get me.
Well, and the thing about my story is like this situation just got thrown into my lap.
Yep. Who's your turd?
I have no experience with this, or I've dealt with customers and stuff like that, but I was a manager years ago for a little bit, but this is kind of a new process for me. So it was like this just gets thrown on me, and then I just got to try and take it and run with it as best as I can.
And so
it's just a huge slap in the face.
The 2 versions is one, kind of what you and I dealt with, where literally it was just the universe is literally just shitting on you.
Yeah.
And then there's a version where there's a lot of bad life choices and lifestyles that fall in line that result in what a person believes to be just unequivocal, uncontrollable bad luck. Woe is me. And I've been there. A majority of us, unless you were born into generational wealth, most of us adults, at least in our generations, I don't know about the new ones because they're all still living at home in their 30s, we all left the house at 18. One way, shape, and or form. We found roommates. My buddy Frog had 5 dudes living in a 2-bedroom townhouse. One guy had a sleeping bag and utility closet right next to the AC handler. I mean, just you would do what you had to do to get that rent money put together.
Yeah, I got married and had a kid at 19, so that's my version of that story.
And so a lot of times when you're poor, you often make less than responsible decisions with some of your money to help dull the pain of life.
Sure.
And so maybe instead of paying for the car insurance, you decide to go out and, I don't know, whatever, buy an Xbox or whatever, buy 3 cases of beer and have a party. And so in cases like that, where you're just, you got the piece of shit car, it's not running right, and then you get in an accident, you have no insurance, the car gets impounded. Well, that was a result of you deciding not to pay your insurance because you decided the case of beer or the Xbox is more important. So those 2 things are life choices. And it's interesting when you're looking at that aspect of that version of the universe is out to get me, how it's like once you've gotten past that point in your own life and you're hearing other people complain about those types of situations, you're like, well, it's a result of life choices.
Well,
but it's funny when you're on that side, you don't see that. I don't know if it's you don't want to look in the mirror and realize, well, yeah, I'm I get paid X amount a week, and I'm spending 60% of my paycheck on entertainment items and less on my responsibilities. But a lot of times that's what it comes down to.
Well, and on that subject, I think there's a cutoff. I think around. And everybody's life is different, so I mean, it's not going to be universal to everybody.
Sure.
I think in generality, 27 or 28, you finally kind of grow out of that a little bit.
Yeah, it was like 33 for me.
Hey, not everybody, does it like that.
Yeah.
But I can remember, my first house, with my girlfriend at the time. It was like my rent was cheap. I didn't make a whole lot of money, but, my rent was still cheap. I didn't have a car payment at the time. I had a beater. I still had to pay insurance on it. I had all these bills and stuff, and it was like the first time in my life where reality and adulthood kind of set in, and making the choice between wanting to party all night long and have fun and spend my money on other bullshit was more important than paying my bills. So what was the result of that? I lost my fucking house. I got evicted.
Why me? If it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have luck at all. The universe is out to get me.
And it was that situation where I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is bullshit. And you get that, like, you're in that mentality, I think, where you're just like, fucking, fuck the world, everybody's out to get me, and why me, and blah, 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 blah. But it's like, no, I was stupid enough that I didn't pay my fucking rent. So I got kicked out. Duh, stupid.
And then on the other hand, it's weird to try to think cosmically, like the amount of things that had to happen by multiple different people, almost like the butterfly effect, to get to the point where what happened to me is like, okay, this guy either had a bad day, didn't care, but the problem is you're not a barista, so your bad day doesn't cost a $7 coffee. You just destroyed the interior of even all these years later with the current prices of cars, probably truck it with Blue Book around $45,000. You completely destroyed it. You're in property damage land here. Your bad day resulted in property damage.
Yeah.
And then that same person that happened to then have their window cracked. I've been driving since I was 15, and all these times I've only had one windshield cracked by a rock to the point where it needed to be replaced, which I never did. And then obviously the second time, so in all my years, I've only had a windshield get a crack that didn't need to be replaced, and then a windshield that needed to be replaced due to hurricane damage. how can I go 24 years without driving, mind you? I drove from Ohio to Kentucky every other week and I see my mom. I drove from Ohio to California and back, and then drove from Ohio to California to live, and then drove from California to Florida, and then drove on the roads for 18 years, 8 hours a day, and never had a cracked windshield. But 15 fucking minutes after having my windshield replaced, I get a rock through my window. It's like,
Well,
how does that cosmically happen? It just
well,
it
and
doesn't make sense.
funny enough, I've got kind of a little bit of a side story about this same situation that you're in right now. Because as long as I've been driving in every vehicle that I've ever owned, with the exception of say an accident,
Mm-hmm.
because I did roll a car one time, and of course the windshield busted, and whatever. But
Now,
not
was
one
that
of
an
my
accident or was that a result of life choices?
um, I'll call it a little bit of both. Um, it was just to kind of a little side shoot here. My pregnant fiance at the time
Needed
ended
some
up in
pickles and ice cream. We got you. Yeah.
no, she ended up in the hospital.
Okay.
She had to get taken there by an ambulance or a coworker or something like
So
that, and
you
I
were
panicked
driving post haste to get to the hospital. I got you.
in the mountains. Yeah.
And then you
So
flipped, and then you both ended up in the hospital.
yep.
The world's out to
So
get you.
yep. So yeah, between again a little bit of both, I think, because it's like, why the fuck did this happen to me? And
Mm-hmm.
I probably should have been doing 45 and a 25. So,
Yeah.
But I digress.
Especially if the sharp corner sign says 15 mile an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're doing 30,
Well,
interesting enough, when I took driver's ed, the guy told me you can double the speed limit on those turns and go through it safely. See,
Yeah.
if you're doing 30, you'd have been straight, but now you're doing
Yeah.
45 and flipped it.
Well, unfortunately, up in those areas, there's so many damn curves and round the mountains and everything like that.
Soft
There's
shoulders.
There's not enough fucking signs.
Yeah.
But every vehicle that I've ever owned never busted a windshield, never broke a window, nothing. I've had a rock bounce off the windshield, but never
I've
got a
had
chip.
huge ones, and it sounds like a shotgun going off here, and
Yeah.
not even so much. This was just a little tiny pebble.
Yep. And imagine this on all my shit boxes. All of the older vehicles that I owned that I paid cash for that were just beaters or just trying to keep them running, right? The week after I bought my brand new Nissan,
Yep.
chip in the fucking windshield,
Yep.
going down 75. Are you fucking kidding me?
It's like, come on.
Brand new off the lot. I bought it with 26 miles on it.
Wow, that sucks.
I had, by the time that happened, probably 80 to 100. I'm going down 75, doing something. I think I was going down to Naples or something like that. Same situation on fucking 75, and just ping, and I see the little chip right there, and it's right in front of me. So every time I drive, I see it. I'm like, fuck.
It's interesting though how like a lot of the life choice based stuff clears up when you just get out of your own way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah.
Well, I
Stop
used to
trying
let
so hard.
I used to let my emotions get the best of me. Sometimes I still do.
Mm-hmm. Understandable.
And I mean, everybody I think does when certain situations arise. But now it's older looking back situation. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Why did I? Why would I be so pissed about that situation? I look back on it and I go, well, I got through it.
Well, see, that's the crazy
I
thing.
figured it out.
Because much like you, every car I've owned up until I bought my first off the lot new car at 36 were pieces of shit.
Yeah.
And my mom's cars were pieces. Gordon's cars were all. We come from a long line of shitty cars.
Sure.
And particularly if you grew up in the 80s and 90s with family members who were driving cars from the 70s and 80s, because they all sucked, but they're all affordable. A lot of Ford Escorts and Chevettes in my lineage. You learn at an early age, if I get pissed off every time I have car problems, I'm going to spend a majority of my life pissed off. And
Yep.
so I took that to heart a few years back. And so, like I said, when I first got in, the grease, okay, I'll wipe it off. The nether grease, okay, I'll make a phone call. And then the windshield gets broke. I'm just like, okay, what the fuck? What am I doing? And then 2 days later, oh, got a flat tire. And it's like, okay, knock it off. So now I got to come home, cancel a podcast because it's in my driveway.
Yeah.
And then I got, wait a minute. My car's on the driveway. It's on an incline. The last time I used a factory jack on an incline was on my 2003 Chevy Fleet van. The thing tacoed and the thing damn near landed on me. So I don't like to use factory jacks in the driveway. I have a 2-ton floor jack.
Sure.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I let my dad borrow the 2-ton floor jack. Call my dad. So I'm not at home yet. I'm just planning ahead. Hey, do you got the floor jack? Yeah, it's down at the trailer, the one that got flooded out by the hurricane.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 30 miles away. Call my buddy Zach, who's on the way to my house. Hey, do you got a floor jack I can borrow? Carrie's got a flat tire. Yeah, okay. So I call Carrie, text Carrie, hey, I'm going to stop at Zach's, borrow the floor jack, come home, change your tire. Well, you better hurry up because the service tech's supposed to be here. We got somebody coming out to work on our house. Okay, so I text Zach, I will be by later to get the floor jack. I have to be home before this guy gets here because I got to unlock my side fences and I'm the only one with the keys and yada, yada, yada. Okay, fine, whatever. So I drove home, past Zach's house. Bye, Zach. He lives on the way to my house. Come home. It's now 5 o'clock. Sit down to bed. 5:30. 5:45. I put a phone call in. Ringy dingy. Yeah, this guy's supposed to come out and do a follow-up thing that he was out here did last week. He's coming out. Let me look. I don't have you on the calendar. Well, I just signed up for a new service. You guys are supposed to come out a few times this month. No, don't have them coming out until July. Okay, I have to go. I will call. Can you have the salesperson who showed up at my house on Saturday on a fucking Vespa call
What?
me tomorrow? Well, a Segway, but whatever. Okay, dude never called me. So now I go back into my truck, drive all halfway back to work, stop at Zach's house, get his floor jack. So now it's 6:30ish. I have to stop. I got to stop on the way back home before I can go back home and change the tire. I got to stop and get cat litter and cat food because Carrie can't because the car has a flat tire. Cats don't need food. Litter box stinks. So I come home. Keep in mind, the universe is against me. I come home, get the jack out of the box, go ahead and loosen up the lugs, get all the stuff out of the trunk, find the lift point on the car so it doesn't cause any damage, start loosen the lugs. Fun fact for you young kids, you loosen the lugs before you lift the car, otherwise the tire's going to spin and you won't be able to loosen the lugs. So always loosen the lugs before you lift the car off the ground.
And this is your tech tip of the week.
From a computer guy. As I use the hydraulic floor jack to lift the very light Volkswagen up, just when I get it high enough that I take the lugs off and the tire's kind of stuck on there, you know, sometimes you got to give it a kick. And I put some 15-pound octagon weights under the front tire to keep it from rolling. It's secure. I look over and I see liquid coming out of the floor jack.
Oh, no.
I'm thinking, my truck is back at the. I just got my truck home. Just had the windshield replaced. It got broken before I got home on Friday. Carrie's got and I come home to a flat tire. No, come home to the flat tire. I have to borrow a floor jack. Things in the air, and there's hydraulic fluid leaking out of the jack. And all I have is this vision of me taking off that tire and the whole car just coming down and landing on the fucking brake rotor and shattering it. And then Carrie coming out looking at me and saying, "What the fuck?" So I paused for a moment.
You think about this long and hard.
I have floor stands, but the Volkswagen's not quite high enough, and they have these weird, like, they don't have a straight axle like a truck does, or kind of pivoted. And the floor stands aren't going to get there. So I said, I got two decisions of what I can do. I could put these lugs back on here and lower this motherfucker to the ground and throw my hands in the air, or I can risk it. I can risk it all. I can wiggle this fucking car, get this tire to pop off the rim, get the other one up. And by the way, fun fact for those of you who've never changed tires, because young cats don't. American cars, domestic cars, if you will, we have what's called lugs, studs, coming out of the rotor. 5 or 6 or 8, depending on if you have a car or truck or 4-wheel drive. And those are kind of nice. You just lift the tire up, you line up the holes, and you slide them on the lugs, and then you use the lug nuts. German cars don't have that. They have holes in the hub, and you take the lug bolt and screw it on. So you have to put the tire up on the little ring, line it up. So I'm calculating all this. Like, I got to wiggle this thing off, shake the car, because it's... Actually, I had to go release the emergency brake because I had emergency brakes on. Once I released the emergency brake, I could spin it, and like as I'm watching, I'm like watching the jack. I finally break the son of a bitch loose, but now I have to put the new one up on the ring, and then align it, and then try to screw. And then the easiest way to do that is put your 2 feet under the tire and hold it up. But now I'm running the risk of a collapsing car jack and breaking my fucking ankles. But I went with it, put them in, lowered it down. Boy, that spare looks a little low on pressure.
Oh my God.
Got up the next morning, drove the car 2 miles to the gas station, actually a mile and a half. The maximum air pressure on the donut is 60 psi. This is a 2018 Jetta. The tire's never been taken out of the trunk. I was rolling on a solid 10 pounds of pressure on this fucking
Oh my God.
So I aired it up, made a phone call, and got carried to the shop and got some new tires put on. So not only do I have to pay another deductible, but we had to buy 2 new tires. Now, the good news is, out of all this, when we were going to trade the Volkswagen when the lease was up, we had to buy 2 front tires or they were going to ding us and make us pay Volkswagen tire prices.
Yeah, fuck that.
Even the technicians like, go buy the 2 cheapest fucking tires you can, put them on here, because we're going to put all new tires on it before we resell it anyhow.
Right.
That's just kind of the rub. You have to have legal tread when you turn it in.
Yeah.
So my buddy owns a mechanic shop. He got me the 2 world's cheapest tires. We took the car and traded it in. They had no cars on the lot because of the chip shortage, and we ended up buying out the lease, cutting our car payment in half, but now we got a car with mismatched tires. So the rear tires were due to be replaced, and Carrie's been trying to get me to get new tires for like 2 weeks. And I told her, I said, well, the good thing we didn't do it, because then you would have a brand new tire with a nail in the sidewall.
Yes.
And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, the tire's not flat because it's old. The tire's flat because you had a 3-inch lanai screen screw through it. I said, if I would have put new tires on there 3 weeks ago, it would not have changed our direction of transportation yesterday when we went to the water park, yada, yada, yada. So we would have went to the same places, had the same screw ended up on one of your new tires. But I'm just like, if this fucking jack collapses and this car comes plummeting to the ground, I'm done. I completely give up because I've done nothing to deserve this.
The hands go up, the tools go flying. I'm fucking done. I'm going to bed.
Not even my jack. It's like, I'm just thinking, it's not even my jack.
We call that fucked by the green weenie again.
Yeah, it's like, can I just catch a break? This is just effing insane.
You definitely got me beat. I mean, you've been dealing with some shit and your
And that
shit's been
compounds on
ongoing.
top of all the other shit I've been dealing with.
Yeah, and your shit's been ongoing for like the past 2 to 3 months.
So when I was driving back
at least
when I was driving back from Zach's house after getting the jack on my way to get cat litter, I said, "Fuck it, I'm getting me a Starbucks." But I'm tired. I'm annoyed. I'm frustrated because after all, the universe is out to get me, and I pulled in the Starbucks.
closed.
No.
Oh.
This particular Starbucks, that's weird. There's 2 Starbucks that I visit in the morning. And I think you and I have talked about this. The one that I visit all the time is chock full with the full rainbow of the LGBT community.
Yes.
The other one looks like an Abercrombie & Fitch store. Just a bunch of straight white folk in sweaters and T-shirts. The young person who has them, they pronouns on their name tag, who is a very nice person I talk to all the time. After all the shit I've been going through, between life and then the universe and the cars, the only person that out of all the people I communicate with to ask me how I'm doing was the transsexual
Starbucks barista.
Said to me, "How are you doing?" And I said, "You don't want to know." And you know what they said to me?
What?
"Do you want to talk about it?"
Get the fuck out of here.
I said, "You don't want to pull that ripcord." I greatly appreciate it. I said, "That means the world to me that you actually care." I said, "I'll give you the brief cliff notes, but you don't have time to get on this rabbit hole." But I was so frazzled. I'm like, that meant the world to me that one person actually gave a shit, was interested in what was bothering me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh. It was so nice to actually have somebody say, "How are you doing, fella?"
It's kind of like a breath of fresh air. Just,
because as the dude, as
Yeah.
the head of the family, your job is to take on all the responsibilities and grin and bear it. Take on all the stress of life and make everybody else feel better and grin and bear it. But you've been doing all this, and then all these cars fall on you, and then people not showing up. Just to have somebody say, "Hey, how are you doing? Do you want to talk about it?" I needed that.
Outstanding.
But you don't need to hear the shit show.
We're
And
not-
at the
we're
end of
not
the
unpacking.
day, not all that serious stuff, even though we've been talking about it for 45 minutes on the podcast, but it's just one of those things we can all relate to. It's just like, why is everybody out to get me?
Yeah.
But it's even harder to understand when it's truly a situation that you've caused none of it. It wasn't a result of making bad life choices, associating with the wrong people.
Yeah.
It's just, I was at work. I went and got my truck, then got a window, and then there's a flat tire, and then there's a leaky jack. And just
And then there's broken ankles.
the potential for broken ankles, yes. But it's just like, oh.
You can't win.
No, but things are turning around. Gotta.
Are you sure?
No. No, they said my truck
Have you caught any fish lately?
caught 2 dinks. Carrie blew up her pole, so being the nice chivalrous guy I am, I hand her my pole, my worm pole, and then she goes catches the biggest fish of the night.
And that's the icing on the cake.
Oh, and this whole time this is going on, I'm still fighting with the rudder from my kayak, trying to get that goddamn thing fixed. It's just like, cut me a break. Can I get one win? Let me get a win, please. But no.
The world says, "Fuck you, D-Train."
I saw this perfect quote. It was right on that same day. I saved it. It was on TikTok, but it was something like, "You could be minding your own business, doing everything you're required to do in life, and the world will still bend you over and fuck you in the ass." I'm like, ain't that the truth?
Yep. No lube, no reach around.
So the insurance company called me today.
Oh.
Asked if I had heard back from the people who were fixing my truck. I said, not yet. And she's like, you don't think they're going to pay for your windshield, do you? I said, I doubt it. It's not their fault. I said, but I'm holding out hope because they said that when I dropped my truck off on Monday, that if they could get that door trim, they should have my truck done by Tuesday, and it's now Wednesday. I said, I'm kind of crossing my fingers, not calling them, hoping maybe they're like, you know what, we fucked this guy's truck up pretty good. Let's do him a solid because, you know, that $459 windshield, that's retail. I'm sure they get it at $150. So I'm hoping, praying maybe I'll get the thing back and they'll eat the cost of that, but I'm not holding my breath. But I told her, I said, look, we'll have to put a pin in this. I said, I don't have another $500 to pay for this fucking windshield. I just, so yeah.
That's why they say roll with the punches.
Yeah. They also say God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And I've been handling a lot, but then that happened, and I'm just like, okay, enough already. I don't need this.
Oh my God.
Just enough.
God, it has been a real emotional roller coaster tonight.
I guess. More of a carnival ride. Didn't have as many ups and downs as like a full-blown roller coaster. But I do got to go back after we're done and record the first 45 minutes of the show because for some reason Tish, it wasn't recording. I've only have 20 minutes worth of show here. So...
are you fucking kidding
No,
me?
but the good news is once it saves to YouTube, I'll just start the video on my computer and hit record, and then when I get to the same moment, I'll cut it off, and so then it'll get a lot cleaner for those after 45 minutes. The audio will get real clean. It's just, I just can't win.
You need a vacation.
I'm scared. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
As Brandon Lee said in The Crow, it can't rain all the time.
Yep. I forget the next line of that song. Sky won't fall forever.
Is that what it is?
I actually have the CD burnt on my hard drive. I have the Crow soundtrack. We're going to do a little update because it kind of rolls into the same temperature of this, and then we'll call this episode done. What is with the mindset? I mean, there's always been protesters. There's always been people fighting for a cause because, I mean, every generation, everybody needs something to rebel against, right?
Sure.
That's why the old hippie movement in the 60s said don't trust anybody over the age of 30 because everybody under the age of 30 has no life experience and they're easy to brainwash.
Sure.
But we've gotten to this new level now where people feel that it's their right that when they protest, not only to do property damage, but to do high-end, irreplaceable property damage.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're surprised when things don't go their way. There's been a scourge of these environmentalist protesters out through Europe and that side of the globe. And apparently one of the bigger groups is giving themselves the cute name of the last generation because they think the whole world's going to come to an end. Vatican courts order climate protesters to pay $30,000 in damages for gluing their hands to a priceless statue. So we've done stories where they went and glued their hands in it. Was it Porsche? And they just shut the lights off, said, see you tomorrow. And then they got upset because they're stuck in the Porsche museum glued to the floor because the Porsche people didn't follow suit and call them ambulances like everybody else does to get them pried off. The Vatican court convicted 2 environmental activists for aggravated damage Monday and ordered them to pay more than 28,000 euros, that's 30,000 United States cash, in restitution after they glued their hands to the base of an ancient statue in the Vatican Museum in a protest to draw attention to climate change. What is the thought process there? I can kind of understand if you're wanting to protest climate change, gluing your hand to cars or around cars in an automobile museum, because you can make the direct correlation between greenhouse gases and cars.
Sure.
But how do you make that correlation between man-made global warming and a statue that was made in the 1st century BC? You're protesting environmental damage by gluing yourself to statues that were around almost as long as mankind and then placed in a museum with other artifacts, to the point that when they have to remove your dumbass from said statue, they have to use chemicals to break down the glue because they can't lop your hand off and let it just be an accoutrement to the statue. That actually tends to cause damage to these statues.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the correlation between 1st century statues and global warming.
There isn't one.
The 2 members of the Last Generation Environmental Activist Group, 2 Italian people, I'm not even going to try to slaughter their names, also received 9-month suspended sentence and were fined 1,620 euros apiece. The 3rd activist on trial with them, another dude, was fined 120 euros. The trial stemmed from an August 18th protest in the Vatican Museum, during which Italian guy A and Italian guy B glued their hands to the base of the Laocoon statue, one of the most important ancient works in the collection that believes to be dated from the 1st century BC. They hung up a banner reading, "Last Generation, no gas, no carbon." I don't get this sense of just entitlement amongst people, to the point where you know what kind of reminds me of? Remember back when Obama was in office and we had this fad of taking down historical statues?
Mm-hmm.
And then I forget what city it was, but there was a protest and they wanted a statue taken down of a one of the leaders in the desegregation progress of our country, meaning this person stood up for black rights. Basically, everything that people were tearing down statues for, because all these guys are slave owners. This particular person was like key in moving our country away from slavery, and they're just so caught up in the whirlwind in their message that they just find random statues without even researching who the person's about. This one's next. Oh no, that's the guy. That guy's on your side, stupid. It's the same thing. You're going to a museum that has ancient works. If anything, you should be like, this is the reason why we need to protect our environment, so that things like this and other things can be found and preserved and put on display. Not, let's destroy this so that we can protest gas and carbon emissions.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's, I don't know. It just makes no sense.
I think it's, hey, look at me.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Adam Carolla says all roads lead to narcissism.
Yeah, I truly believe that when it comes down to it is and you know, another offshoot of that would have to do with you know, anarchy and things like that. But
anarchy, damn it, Chip, don't make me smack you.
I think it's hey, look at me. Everybody wants their 15 minutes of fame,
mm-hmm.
as it's said. And you know, if you think about, like, I think people are pre-wired and programmed to be destructive.
Yeah, I can see that a little bit.
You know
I think
I
at an early age when they're trying to rebel, and you kind of said something like anarchy. We think of anarchy symbols. We all drew anarchy symbols in our books in elementary school, middle school. That and the S. We had no idea what anarchy meant.
Yeah.
It reminds me, though, and you see this oftentimes fishing. Whenever you're out and about and you see a swastika painted on a sign or a wall or a pillar or a bridge, do you think there's a roaming band of Nazis running around your neighborhood?
Nope.
What do you think when you see a Nazi symbol spray painted on a wall?
White supremacist skinheads.
Nope. Not even that. It's more basic than that.
What is it?
13-year-old white kids with spray paint. Going back to the desire to rebel. They don't know what the swastika stands for. They don't know the history behind it. They just know they have spray paint, and this symbol pisses people off. They don't know why it pisses people off. And so they spray paint the swastika, and they have a rough idea what anarchy means. Oh, it means no rules. We don't have to listen to our parents. And so whenever I'm driving around and I see a swastika or an anarchy symbol, I don't think, ooh, there's anarchists running around. I got to get home. Or, ooh, there's white supremacists.
Yeah.
No, it's the fucking 13-year-old neighbor boy found a can of spray paint, and he's out wanting to rebel. And that's where a majority of that shit comes from.
Well, sure.
And we just have this... We all have a healthy desire to rebel, which usually comes out through one's choice of music and or style of clothing. But then there's those people who just keep on going, take it a little bit too far. Whether you're Antifa or these environmentalist people who are gluing themselves to ancient statues, all in the name of what? Some nonsensical thing. Well, they're fighting for the save the planet. Well, the problem with that is you can go back and look at newspapers going back to the last 150 years. Every 10 years, there's a new headline about global warming or global cooling.
Yeah.
It's just repetitive. It's just a repetitive news cycle. Now, if we want to have a discussion about man-made pollution, absolutely. We can talk about that. I see it every time I go out kayaking.
Sure.
That's out there, but...
By the way, did you hear the story about the Porter Johns?
No. What's the update on those?
It's not happening anytime soon.
Well, I saw some of them have been pulled out of mine.
Some of them have. Some of them have, and I don't think that that's anything to do with the city. There was a news story on, I think it was either this morning or maybe yesterday, that the city is still in talks about it.
With FEMA? Because when I asked the mayor during the election campaign, he was out glad handing people at the line. I wasn't going to vote for him, and I tried to back him in the corner about the Porta John. So, well, and I asked him, well, who's paying for that? And FEMA is.
Yeah. Well, I guess the idea was that they were going to, and this is just, it's not a direct quote, but supposedly they're going to go and do the saltwater systems first. And then they're going to go to the freshwater systems. But funding and all that shit, that's all. They're waiting on all that shit. So instead of just going out and fucking scheduling it and doing it, and that's what's aggravating about, government agencies and shit like that to me is, there's a problem.
And then
go fix it and then figure out the fucking logistics later.
Or when somebody asks you, how can we prevent this in the future?
Yeah.
And I say, maybe the Porta-John companies need to go pick up the Porta-Johns on any work site that has one of the four corners lined by a fucking canal and or body of water. I'm not saying you got to pick up every Porta-John, but if your work site has one side is bordered by water or within 20 feet of water, go pick that up. He said there's too many of them out there. He believes it's the construction company's job to strap them down. At which point I realized this guy's never worked a day in his life outside in Florida.
Yeah.
How do you strap them down? Can't drive rebar into the ground because it's all sand. The shit's going to pull right up. Are they supposed to drill holes in the concrete slabs that the jobs are working on? No. These things are plastic shells riveted together. Have the damn honey wagons come pick them up if there's, the day, 2 days before, if there's a hurricane. I can tell them, you guys, you want us to pick up our trash cans and clean up our yards?
Yeah.
Remove the missiles?
Well, and The only thing that I'll give them, with that is, if nothing else, if you know there's a storm coming, have them clean it and push it into the garage on the construction site.
If
nothing else, at least get it out of the fucking wind stream.
Yep. But anyhow.
But that's too easy.
Yeah.
That's too fucking easy. And, God forbid, some of these people around here spend money to actually pay somebody to fucking, go over there and push the fucking thing into the garage.
Yeah.
Nope, it's not in the budget.
Speaking of pushing things in the garage, we want to push you guys out onto the internet. Make sure you head over to youtube.com, click on, search for Digital 410 Media or D410 Media or Digital 410, and like, subscribe, watch our videos. And if you haven't done so, please head over to patreon.com, sign up, or you can find that link through what'sinyourhead.com as well. Tonight's kind of the little change up. We're going to get this thing fine-tuned and have some guests on and stuff. But we're looking into the new phase of the What's in Your Head podcast. We want to thank everybody for your continued support. Like I said, Gordon will probably be back in 3 months or so. When he comes back, we'll still continue the new format of the show. And we're going to sort this thing out, and bigger, better things to come. And for myself and Mike, we will all talk to you next week, because I got to go back and record the first 45 minutes of the show because, well, the universe is out to get me.
This has been a Digital 410 production.